And God said, let the land produce living creatures according to their kinds, the livestock, the creatures that move along the ground, and the wild animals, each according to its kind. And it was so. God made the wild animals according to their kind, the livestock according to their kind, and all the creatures that move along the ground according to their kind. And God saw that it was good. So day 4, you have the sun, the moon, and the stars. Well, day 4 was about filling day 1, which was light and dark. Day 5 is the fish and the birds, and that was about filling day 2, the waters in the sky. Finally, day 6, where we have the land animals, is about filling day 3, land and vegetation. One thing I find interesting about days 5 and 6 is that God uses creation to do the creating. He says, let the waters swarm with life, and let the land produce living creatures. Life comes from non-life. And that's a statement that has sparked a lot of scientific debate over the years. Scientists are still trying to discover just how that happened. I mean, why is there life now instead of non-life? I have no idea when it comes to the nuts and bolts of it, but I do know what Jurassic Park says. Life finds a way. But it does seem that wherever God is, there is life. Once everything was in place on this planet, life was virtually inevitable. People often wonder about the seeming conflict between faith and science. Do we take Genesis 1 literally? And if so, what about evolution? What about dinosaurs? But honestly, that's not what the creation story is about. It's not interested in the science of creation. It's not even written with a scientific worldview in mind because, spoiler alert, it predates a scientific method. One more time for anybody who's tuned me out at this point, Genesis is not about science. Science is concerned with discovering the how, but Genesis is more interested in the why and the who. The God of the Bible creates out of love and community, and his creation is given a sense of purpose and order, and it was good. The writer of Genesis 1 depicts 3 basic groups of animals: domesticated livestock, wild untamed beasts, and reptiles. Add those to fish and birds, and that's basically the way the ancients understood the natural world. But then God said, let us make human beings in our image, to be like us. They will reign over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky and the livestock and all the wild animals on the earth and the small animals that scurry along the ground. So God created human beings in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. And then God blessed them and said, be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and govern it. Reign over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky and all the animals that scurry along the ground. Then God said, look, I have given you every seed-bearing plant throughout the earth and all the fruit trees for your food. And I've given you every green plant as food for all the wild animals, the birds in the sky, and the small animals that scurry along the ground. Everything that has life. And that is what happened. Then God looked over all he had made, and he saw that it was very good. And evening passed, and morning came, marking the 6th day. Another question scientists try to answer is, what separates humans from animals? Technically, human beings are mammals, and we're closely related on a DNA level to primates like chimpanzees. But as far as we know, human beings are the only sentient, self-aware, conscious beings in the universe. Some would say that we're no different than the non-human animals, but the fact that we can actually make those kinds of assertions proves that we are different. I mean, where does consciousness come from? Where does our sense of love and community and justice come from? Where does our morality come from? I believe it has something to do with the very image and likeness of God embedded into each and every person on the planet. There is a little bit of God's own nature inside each and every one of us. And see, forgetting or ignoring that fact has led to some of the greatest atrocities in history. Persecution, genocide, hate crimes, slavery, human trafficking. When we dismiss the image of God inside our brother or sister, we dehumanize them. And only when we dehumanize them in our minds can we justify violent actions against them. Every living creature has the breath of life in it. But only humans bear the likeness of God, which makes us his ambassadors and co-rulers. We are tasked with the creative process, ruling over and tending to the rest of creation, just as God would do. That is why I believe that Jesus says the greatest command in Scripture is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. Or as John says, whoever claims to love God yet hates a brother or sister is a liar. For whoever does not love their brother and sister whom they have seen cannot love God whom they have not seen. See, love for God and love for others cannot be separated because God has created us in his own image. Or as Victor Hugo would write in his famous novel Les Miserables, to love another person is to see the face of God. Until next time.